Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're watching or listening. My name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information that plenty of bad folks would rather you not have. For this lecture, we'll be going on to Chapter 3 of our series on The Prince, written by Mr. Niccolo Machiavelli. Understanding the ideas and the principles, the tactics, best word for it, outlined in The Prince will be greatly to your benefit, because understanding these tactics, which are used up to this day, is the most effective way to actually deter the subversive and deceptive manipulative strategies that governments use to subjugate their citizens. So let's go ahead and switch on over. Like I said, we're going on to Chapter 3. If you haven't gone back and watched the preceding chapters, please do so. This one is titled Mixed Monarchies. Now, it's just long enough that we shouldn't go through all of it. Of course, I encourage you on your own time to go and read through this entire chapter, just so that way there is no concerns about me extracting or maybe misrepresenting what is being said in here. But I did go through, found the most important points that I think will be greatly, or would be most to your benefit to know, that he outlined in here. And he starts it this way. When a monarchy is new, things are harder. If it's not entirely new, but a territory added to an existing monarchy, let's call this overall situation mixed, instabilities are caused first and foremost by what is an inevitable problem for all new regimes, that men are quick to change ruler when they imagine they can improve their lot. It is this conviction that prompts them to take up arms and rebel. Then later they discover they were wrong and that things have got worse rather than better. Again, this is in the normal, natural way of things. A ruler is bound to upset the people in his new territories, first with his occupying army, and then with all the endless injustices consequent on any invasion. So not only do you make enemies of those whose interests you damage when you occupy the territory, but you can't even keep the friendship of the people who helped you to take power. This for the simple reason that you can't give them as much as they expected. And you can't get tough with them either, since you still need them, because however strong your armies, you'll always need local support to occupy a new territory. Then he goes on to show an example of this principle with Louis XII. This is why Louis XII, King of France, took Milan so quickly and equally quickly lost it. And he goes on to outline exactly what happened in those events and how this principle here of being a little too crass, a little too harsh, a little too swift in the conquest and the taking over of this new territory led to, sure, a quick victory, but also a quick loss. He goes on to say, of course, when a king returns to win back a territory that has rebelled like this, he is less likely to lose it a second time. So when you do have these citizens, when you have these body politics who believe that they can go and govern themselves in a better way, or maybe they see a different type of government on the horizon coming to take over their current government, if they feel in any way scorned by their current government, they'll be receptive to virtually any other kind of government. So they'll rebel against their current government, rebel against their current government, adopt this new government, and when they find out that this new government is terrible, or if they try to self-government, like what Machiavelli referred to in that first paragraph, and it fails, when they return to the preceding government, if the preceding government even wants power again, they will be doubly loyal. They will now have the pains of effing around and finding out. They tried what they thought was going to be easy, they failed, and because of that, they are now going to honor the leader who, even if not perfect, was able to conduct the job in a better fashion than they could themselves. Further, he says the general reasons behind the first French defeat have been discussed. It remains to explain why Louis lost Milan the second time, and to see what countermeasures he could have taken and what options a ruler has in a situation like this if he wants to hold on to his conquest. Needless to say, any territory annexed to the realm of a conquering ruler may or may not be in the same geographical region and share the same language. If it is, and the language is shared, the territory will be much easier to hold on to. Where else do we see that play out? Babylon. To hold on to, especially if its people are not used to the freedom of self-government. In that case, all you have to do is eliminate the family of the previous ruler, and your hold on power is guaranteed. Everything else in the territory can then be left as it was, and given that there are no profound differences in customs, people will accept the situation quietly enough. So all you have to do when there's when there's just enough similarity between the two customs, the one being conquered and the conquering, all you have to do is displace the current government and quietly, without making any severe changes, hopefully you don't have to make any severe changes because that's how similar the customs are, including the language, get rid of the current ruling government quietly, displace them, and subtly implement yourself as the new government. Again, not making any sort of radical, immediate changes, because hopefully the customs, the languages will be shared enough and common enough. Further, he says, but when a ruler occupies a state in an area that has a different language, different customs, and different institutions, then things get tough. To hold on to a new possession in these circumstances takes a lot of luck and hard work. Perhaps the most effective solution is for the new ruler to go and live there himself. This will improve security and make the territory more stable. The Turkish Sultan did this in Greece, and all the other measures he took to hold on to the country would have been ineffective if he hadn't. When you're actually there, you can see when things start going wrong and nip rebellion in the bud. When you're far away, you only find out about it when it's too late. Another advantage is that the new territory won't be plundered by your officials. Its subjects will be happy that they can appeal to a ruler who is living among them. So, if they're intending to be obedient, they'll have one more reason to love you. And if they're not, all the more reason to fear you. Another good solution is to establish colonies in one or two places. These work rather like chains to bind the captured state to your own. If you don't do this, you'll have to keep large numbers of infantry and cavalry in the territory. And he explains, that's going to cost a lot. You can send and maintain them very cheaply, the colonies, not the armies, cheaply, and they only arouse the hostility of the people whose houses and land are expropriated to give to the colonists. So it's easier to go about trying to insulate these body politics than it is to send a military force there and require compliance. It's better to go and establish yourself in these new body politics as the governor, as the executive, than it is to go from a distance and employ some sort of militaristic force there, because that's very costly. And any resources, any of this profit that would be gained from the colony would then have to be recirculated into the excuse me for being off camera there, will be recirculated into funding the military that would be defending the colony, or not even the colony, the settlement, the conquered land, and to keep the citizens there in check, in line. Further, he says, in this regard, it's worth noting that in general, you must either pamper people or destroy them. Harm them just a little and they'll hit back. Harm them seriously and they won't be able to. So if you're going to do people harm, make sure you needn't worry about their reaction. Where does that sound familiar? If you hit them at all, hit them hard enough so that they can't get back up. That sounds like a very similar principle, very similar doctrine to what the U.S. foreign policy has been for a very long time. If you hit hard. A ruler who has moved into a new region with a different language and customs must also make himself leader and protector of the weaker neighboring powers, while doing what he can to undermine the stronger. In particular, he must take care that no foreign power strong enough to compete with his own gets a chance to penetrate the area. People who are discontented, whether out of fear or frustrated ambition, will always encourage a foreign power to intervene. It was the Aetolians who invited the Romans into Greece. And it's in the nature of things that as soon as a powerful foreign ruler moves into a region, all the weaker local powers support him, if only out of resentment towards the stronger states that previously kept them down. So make friends with the neighboring states, especially if they're weaker. Why? Because the moment a bigger force comes after you, those neighboring states, those neighboring body politics, especially the weaker ones, will opt in favor of this new foreign challenger. Why? Because the weaker settlements, the weaker governments are going to resent you. So make friends with them. Of course, you don't want to prop them up because then they might become the foreign challenger. Just don't undermine them. Make friends with them. He says, however, an invader who fails to manage relations with his new neighbors will soon lose what territory he has taken. He gives an example of what to do. The Romans followed these principles whenever they took a new province. Their handling of Greece will be an example enough. And then he goes on to explain exactly how the principles that he outlines were exercised in Rome. Maybe the Romans weren't using those, they obviously weren't alluding to him, but that the principles he outlined are in substance what the Romans did. Further, he says, remember what the doctors tell us about tuberculosis. This is a very good metaphor, so make sure to highlight this. Remember what the doctors tell us about tuberculosis. In its early stages, it's easy to cure and hard to diagnose, but if you don't spot it and treat it, as time goes by, it gets easy to diagnose and hard to cure. So it is with affairs of state. See trouble in advance, but you have to be shrewd, and you can clear it up quickly. Miss it, and by the time it's big enough for everyone to see it, it will be too late to do anything about it. Very fitting metaphor. He says, okay, we've talked enough about the Romans and how to do things. Let's get back to how the King of France failed. And then he goes on to outline exactly how, given that King Louis XII didn't follow these principles, didn't go and make friends with the weaker neighboring states, didn't go and live among this new colony, this new body politic, to either garner favor or instill fear among the body politic, that all of these different failures in terms of policy and governance, King Louis XII lost the territory just as quickly as he gained it. He said, the desire to conquer more territory really is a very natural thing. But when they don't have the resources to conquer new lands, yet carry on regardless, so they go on to conquer new lands even if they don't have resources, then they're at fault, the ruler, and deserve what blame they get, such as Louis XII, and the blame that he got. In totality, Machiavelli comes to this conclusion when assessing King Louis XII's reign. He says, so Louis made 5 mistakes. He eliminated the weaker states. He enhanced the power of one of Italy's stronger states. He brought in an extremely powerful foreign king. He didn't go to live in the territory he'd acquired, and he didn't establish colonies there. He says, even all the same, these mistakes might not have done serious damage during his lifetime had he not now made a 6th, the final nail in the coffin, made a 6th by stripping Venice of its power. Further, he says, you must never fail to respond to trouble just to avoid war. Because in the end, you won't avoid it, you'll just be putting it off to your enemy's advantage. In this case, let me refer the reader to what I'll be saying later about when rulers should, or then again shouldn't, keep their promises. So he was referring to when King Louis XII had promised the Pope that he would attack Venice on his behalf in return for the Pope's granting the French king a divorce and making the Archbishop of Rouen a cardinal. What Machiavelli will outline in future pages is, 1, whether King Louis XII should have kept that promise, and 2, when, in general, rulers should keep promises, and of course, when they should break them. And finally, in the last paragraph, Machiavelli says this, that to help another ruler, and this is going to play part and parcel to how he explains in future pages, when a governor or a governing body should keep or break their promises to other governing bodies, he says that to help another ruler to grow powerful is to prepare your own ruin. Because it takes flair or military strength to build up a new power, and both will seem threatening to the person who has benefited from them. Excellent. So if you have any questions about what was said in Chapter 3 regarding mixed monarchies, the strategies outlined in Machiavelli, if you have any questions about what was said in the preceding chapters, chapters 1 and 2, or maybe there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future lecture, go ahead and post those down in the comments, because the entire purpose of the Calhoun School of Law is to equip you with let me untie my tongue. is to equip you with the necessary skills and information such as this to combat any sort of lawfare that will be waged against you, your loved ones, or your hard-earned property. So if you have any questions at all, post them down in the comments. Excellent. So my name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information that plenty of bad folks would rather you not have. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and if not, while you're down in the comments, go ahead and let me know how I can do better so I can best serve that purpose of helping you. I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and until I see y'all in the next lecture for the next topic, I bid you all farewell.